Good noon, everybody. This is Coach Kurt Johnson from the E-commerce Business School. You are here with the Curtis and Curtis Show for the race to Minnesota. Welcome, everybody. We are really glad that you're here. The first order of business is just, of course, make sure all the electrons are flowing right. So we're going to wait for some of you to jump on in and let us know how all of that is working. So anyway, Kay Curtis is back in, I always forget, is it Maryland or Massachusetts?
It's Maryland right now, but it's going to be Maryland and North Carolina. We settled on our house last week, and we are in the process of up and down, up and down, up and down. It's about a 5-hour drive one way, so it's a haul, but I love
Congratulations.
that house. It's hard coming back.
Congratulations. That's great. Yeah, my wife and I relocated from Chicago area down to the Miami area here at the first of the year. And it's been just wonderful being down here. So, hey, if someone could give us some love, let us know that the electrons are running fine. Now, tonight, yeah, just let us know if the sound and audio is coming through okay. I always like to check on that. Okay, I remember I did a webinar once that I rattled on for about 10 minutes and then found out that it was 10 minutes of silence on the other end. So don't want to do that.
That wouldn't be good.
That would, so good morning, Judy, or afternoon, and Candida, and Rill, and Judah. Thank you, Candida. All right. Well, you are on the Race to Minnesota, the Curtis and Curtis Show here, and so we will be shared with you at the end of this how if you have not made the commitment to actually come to Minnesota, because that's where the race is too in July, there is a full-blown class tomorrow to fill you in on all the details. Well, that's not what we're here about today. Whether you can physically make it to Minnesota or not, we want you to join in this race to Minnesota. Many of you are. We have prizes again today. Real, we have prizes for you today. Got a surprise for you. Betty, welcome everybody. So, okay, I am on the Race to Minnesota slide. I'm going to click down to number 2, give the dates. It is May 22nd at noon. So your handshake, take it away, Kay. Appreciate you spending the
Okay.
time to help us with our mindsets.
All right, so these first few slides are just a review, just in case there's anybody brand new that hasn't been to any of our previous calls. We want to make sure that everyone knows that everyone can participate. It doesn't matter which EBS program you're implementing. It doesn't matter if you're physically coming to Minnesota. What does matter is that you move your business forward, and this Race to Minnesota challenge is a great way to make that happen. I've participated in several challenges in the past, and it has been phenomenal. So next slide, Kurt. If you are an EBS member, whether you have the free membership or you've purchased one of our courses, you're good to go. If you're not a member, we would love for you to participate in our Race to Minnesota too. You just need to go to www.joinebs.com to get your free membership. Next slide. There's 4 things that you need to do to participate. One is that you post a map in the EBS group page. In the unit post where that's supposed to be, you post a declaration of intent, you post a strategy plan. Those 3 things are all done in the EBS Facebook group page in a unit post. There's different unit posts for each one of those things. And in order to get to the EBS Facebook group page, you do have to be a member of the EBS community, whether it's our free membership or whether you've bought a course. And then the 4th thing that you need to do is report daily using the end of day tracker in your EBS back office. And so again, you would have access to the EBS back office by being a member of the group. I'm not going to go into any more details on those things. All of this was discussed in great detail in previous calls. And if you want more information, you can go back and re-listen to some of those. Next slide. And to make this fun, you can win prizes. You just have to follow the 4 action steps that we talked about before. We have weekly winner that is announced every Wednesday in these calls. Every 3 weeks, we have consistency winners. And then at the trifecta event in July, we will announce our grand prize winner. So let's go to the next one so you can see the prizes that you can win. The Race to Minnesota weekly prizes. To win that within the week, you have to post your map, DOI, and summary plan on the Facebook group page. You only do that once. And then you have to post daily in the back office for the week that we're the previous week. And you can win either you can choose either an e-commerce business school mug or an e-commerce business school journal. Or last week, we can go to the next slide, we introduced my new manifesting mugs. I have 6 different versions, and you can pick one of those as your weekly prize too if you would like. So you have a choice of these 3, and then if you go down to the next, you have a choice of these 3. So there's a cloud, a heart, a section circle, and this one is on this page is a drop, a double heart, and a shooting star. They all have the same words, they're just in different shapes.
Okay.
So,
These are
yes,
beautiful. I know you designed them. If someone doesn't win them, are they able to purchase these? Do you have them on your
yes, they
store?
can. They
Okay.
can go to my bestgenealogygifts.com PDOD store, and on the right-hand side, there's a tab for upright thinking, and you'll see all the different products that I've created so far with some of these designs.
Okay. On the rest of the weeks, why don't you put that URL so people can do it, and
Okay.
we'll throw it up.
All
Because
right.
I know people are going to want these whether they win them or not. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
And I got my samples this week, and I tell you, they're awesome. My sister and nephew grabbed when we were in North Carolina. They came right before we left to go down and settle on our new home in North Carolina. So I just grabbed them and took them down. And so I opened them up and washed them. And my sister and nephew came over. They each took the ones that I liked the best. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you which ones they are because I really like them all.
Hey,
All
Kay.
right, so
Kay,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt you again. Rill and Jenny and Beth and Brian and Diana and Lisa and Rill and Candida. Lots of people rolling in saying hello to you, appreciating the
Good.
time that you're giving
Hi,
us.
everybody. This is great. This is great. So I really love doing this. It's really been a lot of fun. And I have to kind of because of going back and forth to North Carolina, I'm trying to get these presentations done a few weeks ahead. So I kind of have them up through this 5th, and then I have to, what week am I on now? Because I just did another one yesterday for the 5th, and I'm like, okay, I got to go back and get reset on where I'm at. All right, so we're ready to announce our weekly winner for this week. Next slide is Debbie Kane. Congratulations,
Yay!
Debbie. And you can pick any one of the prizes we offered in the last 3 slides, and you'll just need to, so everyone give kudos to Debbie. She works really hard, and she's very active in our groups, and we really appreciate the peer support that she gives people. And I put her here with her husband John, as they have been one of my coaching clients. And whenever I've talked to Debbie, I've always had John on the phone too, so I felt like he should be recognized as well. Next slide, Kurt. In order to claim your EBS prize, you just need to email support, and the easiest way to do that is to go to the EBS back office, click on the little support thing in the bottom right-hand corner, and send Lisa an email. If you elected to pick one of my mugs, make sure you tell her which one you want so she can tell me so I can get it ordered. Next slide. Every 3 weeks we do consistency prizes. Now last week we announced our first consistency winners. And it was brought to my attention that I screwed up very nicely and very lovingly. And I did screw up. And the reason I screwed up is because one of our members lives on the West Coast. And a lot of times when she posts her end of day, it's after midnight Central Time. And so it get logged the next day. And so I missed in the tracking, I missed some of her posts. So next slide. So I'm amending last week's consistency winners and adding Rill Overton to the mix. So congratulations, Rill. You don't need to do anything. The consistency winners get the $25 gift card and the brownies, and the home office takes care of that. So there's nothing you have to do for that. So great job, Rill. You've been doing an awesome job in posting journey slides and doing your daily tracking, and that's awesome. And then the next slide is our grand prize winner. The grand prize is a $100 Amazon gift card, and it will be announced at the Minnesota, or we are going to be in Minnesota this time.
It's a race to Minnesota.
Yes, a race to Minnesota. We are going to be in Minnesota. It's actually my favorite place to go. I just love the hot tub. Anyway, so that's will be coming up. Now we're up to our goofy question of the week, which we just do to make things fun and to get your answers in the comments. So to this week's question, what size t-shirt do you wear? What do you? I like to get mine really big, so I always put the 3X just so I have plenty of room because I like them really.
I do too. Really baggy. I love baggy
Yeah, I just
t-shirts
like them really
too.
bad.
Yeah, I like them
Relativity
long
is good.
sleeve too. See that long? Even though I live in hot weather, I like
Oh
long
my gosh, you're
sleeve.
in Florida and you're wearing long
I
sleeves. Are you
love long
nuts?
sleeve t-shirts. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so put your answers in the comments and let us know what size T-shirt do you like to wear. Um, and it, again, it does. But for me, I like baggy. So, you see any coming in, Kurt?
I do.
Oh,
Candida
good.
large. Oh, everybody else is being bashful. Maybe I'm not sure. There's a
Yeah.
delay usually. Real
Hey,
small, Beth,
it doesn't really
medium.
it doesn't really identify what size you are. It's just like what size you like to wear. Like
Exactly.
I like to wear really big. I like them really baggy and loose and all of that.
Yep.
So whatever you like is good.
All right.
All right. So let's get on to our mindset training for today. Let's go to the next slide. And then we can go right to the next one. So remember 2 weeks ago when I shared a story about a day I was very disagreeable. I think we all have days when things aren't going as we would like, and we just naturally, we're human. We just think, oh, my life stinks, or everything's going wrong. This is just a crappy day. Well, remember last week's lesson on the law of continual transformation. These are thoughts that if we allow ourselves to hold on to them in our mind and believe them, then by law, those thoughts will start to crystallize and our circumstances will be a reflection of those thoughts. So this week, we're going to talk about the law of relativity and the power of gratitude, which helps us to keep our perspective on our thoughts, giving us much more control. Next slide. So the law of relativity basically states that nothing we experience is fundamentally good or bad. And the way it tips the scale is the thoughts and emotions we allow to be attached to it. So something that we consider bad is only bad relative to something better. If you compare your situation to something much worse, you will be able to maintain a more positive perspective on the circumstances that you're going through, and that's the goal. Next slide. So every experience is our teacher. And I've talked about this before in other lessons. We must recognize that every experience is for our learning and growth. As I've said before, you flip your thinking from looking at these bad or hard experiences as stumbling blocks and realize that they are just stepping stones to where you want to go. And if you shift that perspective, it's amazing how much different the whole experience will feel. Okay, next slide. Be open and start thinking outside the box to find solutions. Too often we trap ourselves thinking that the solution has to be this way. And I can probably say 9 times out of 10, how I think something's going to roll out, it rolls out entirely different. It's really quite comical. I think the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, really has a sense of humor because that never seems to roll out the way I envision it's going to roll out. The end result is the same, but how I got there is a much different path. So be open to ideas and solutions that may not be how you thought it would go. And I'm going to share with you a story from the book, The Secrets of As a Man Thinketh, that I've used lots of quotes from. If you could go to the next slide, Kurt. There was once a man who needed a roof for his temple. He searched and searched for someone who would qualify for the job. There simply were no roofers around. All he found was a man who knew how to build ships. He thought to himself, if this man can build a watertight ship, then why not a watertight roof? Next slide. Do not the same principles in building a ship apply to building a roof? He concluded that a roof is really just a ship upside down. We often learn more from our failures than our successes. If you have circumstances that you do not want in your life, turn your ship upside down. That's from The Secrets of As a Man Thinketh by Adam Mortimer and James Allen. So now let's go to the next slide. I want you to think back in time, and yes, that's a Harry Potter time turner. I want you to think back in time to an experience that at the time you were not crazy about going through. Can you, everyone think of one of those experiences? Try to go back a little ways. Don't try to pick something that's fairly recent. And I'm going to ask you some questions about that experience. Are you far enough past it that you can look back and see how your life is better, or see the lessons that you learned because of the experience? I want you to think about that. So think back and pick an experience that was not a fun one. And that, are you far enough past it? Do you understand now why you needed that experience? Do you feel gratitude for that experience because of what you learned? How does the gratitude you feel now change the way you feel when you look back on that experience? Can you look back on it and realize that it wasn't so bad? That because of what you learned from the experience, it wasn't as bad as you thought when you were first starting or when going through it? And is it different from when you were going through it? Does that gratitude help you reflect on that experience in a more positive way? So next slide, Kurt. We can have gratitude for our present no matter where we are or what our circumstance is, because it is the lessons of the present that prepare us for our future outcomes. I'm going to say that again because I think it's really important. It's the lessons of the present that prepare us for our future outcomes. Think about that. Next slide. This is the power of gratitude. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates vision for tomorrow. Let's think about that. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates vision for tomorrow. Think about that. Can you see the power of gratitude and why it's so important to cultivate an attitude of gratitude? Next slide. So, you want better circumstances? Do you really want better circumstances? I don't know anyone that doesn't. Everybody does. It's the law of relativity that helps us find our attitude of gratitude, and understanding that experiences are neither good or bad, and looking for the lessons we can learn. Sorry about that. My husband's phone's ringing. It'll eventually flip to his cell. No.
And as you're waiting for a second there, Kay, Mary Ann has a beautiful example of childbirth. Yeah. Wow. Painful at the time, but what a joy afterwards. And others are
Yes, that's a very good example.
Yeah.
Okay, so understanding that experiences are neither good or bad, and looking for the lessons we can learn allows us to think more cheerfully and gratefully. Next slide. So happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time. It's about loving and being grateful for what you have. So it's about loving what you have and being grateful for it. Now, I want to give you a little tip. So we can go to the next slide. A great way to really accelerate an attitude of gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. Every day, write some things that you are grateful for in your gratitude journal. Do any of you already keep a gratitude journal? Have you ever heard of it? Do you already keep it? Let me know if you see any, if we've got anybody that's already a step ahead of us and
I got
keeping
a,
a gratitude journal.
I got a little bit of a delay time. Hey, Kathy's
Okay.
just joined us. Welcome, Kathy. Marianne, Diane shared an experience that she had. Go ahead and share your experiences, guys, if you want to
Yeah, that's
also.
great.
And anybody keeping a gratitude journal? I'll keep an eye on that for you, Kat.
Okay. Well, it can be anything. It can be a small notebook. It can be a pad of paper. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that you focus on your blessings, what you're grateful for, and you write them down. There's power in writing them down. Our weekly winner could even pick the EBS journal and use that. This is a gratitude journal that I've designed for my new Upright Thinking POD brand. Just a little side note, if any of you are familiar with chakras, you'll notice that the image has the colors of the chakras along with lots of positive words to help you with your mindset. And yes, it is available on my POD website. So anyway, but a gratitude journal is something that can really help you hold on to and set your day, whether you do it at the morning, or you could do it at the morning and at night. But you do it in the morning if you focus on the things that you're grateful for, and it can set a positive tone for your day. You can do it at the end of the day, reflecting back on your day, and it'll set you up for a good night's sleep and open your mind to possibly new ideas.
Rill has done this, and Janice says it's a great idea.
Good job. Okay, next slide, Kurt. Sometimes we just need a friend. Okay, we're all human. And sometimes we do need a sounding board. We have to, someone we can vent to. Sometimes we just need to get that stuff out of our system. And this can be a spouse, a significant other, or just a special friend. Okay. Those kinds of things help us process the energy of the negative things that are happening in our life and get it out of our system and out of the way. Just like when I talked about how when a negative thought comes into your mind, you lean back so the energy can move on back. Sometimes we just have to verbalize them to get it out. And that's okay. You know, we're human beings, we need to do that. A note of caution that I would give you on that: be very considerate of the person that you are dumping on. Make sure that they have the personality and are able to let that negativity roll off their back and that they don't internalize it themselves. Now, this is something you have to be, that's why it needs to be a special friend that you know really well. My husband is an awesome guy. He also feels things very, very deeply, and he gets very upset if something upsets me. So I have to be very careful in using him as a sounding board so that, because by me getting it out, I'm then done with it. But the problem is that I've now dumped it on him and he doesn't know how to let it roll. He internalizes it, and then it takes him a long time to process it. So I'm very careful about, I talk to him all the time. We talk about things, but I'm very careful about using him as a sounding board, a dumping ground, because of his nature, of the way he processes. So it's something I'm just cautioning you to be very aware of with people that you dump on. You need them. You need people, but it takes a special kind of person to let it roll off their back. And not everybody can do that. And so you don't want to create more of a negative burden for somebody else by dumping your negativity into them instead of just using it as a way to get it out of you. Now let's go to the next slide.
Okay, I'm going to delay just a second. Dolores says she journals in the morning and goes back to it through the day. Marianne journals every night. Diana says, that's why I talk to myself. And Debbie showed up. Hey guys, what did I miss? Oh, nothing, Debbie. Just a prize. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're the weekly winner this week. You're gonna have to go back and watch it now.
Jana, me too. Beth, I dump on my dog. He's a good listener.
That's actually a great thing because that pets can do that. So it's something to just be aware. You do need a way to get it out. Sometimes people can get it out by writing. Sometimes instead of having to verbalize it to somebody, they just sit down and they write it into a journal, and then they can tear it up and throw it away once they get that negativity out. So there's lots of ways of being able to process that negativity out of your life. A really fun way which I thought was kind of fun, is is there a way to vent without sabotaging yourself? And let's go to the next one.
Yep.
Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Stephen R. Covey. He wrote a lot of books, a lot of 7-habit books. And one of his books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, he tells a story about hiking with his family. He did not allow any whining or complaining from their children as they were hiking. But at one point, when they took a break to rest, he told them to complain as much as they needed to. Oh, my feet are killing me. How much farther? I'm so tired, etc., etc., etc. Whatever they wanted to say, this was their opportunity to whine, complain, whatever, get the negativity out. And with everyone complaining at the same time, they all realized how pathetic they all sounded, and they started laughing. As a result, they just laughed and laughed at themselves, and they could then move on more cheerfully. Just like we talked about a couple of weeks ago of using laughter to fuse negativity. It's amazing what a great, tremendous tool laughter is. Next slide.
Yep, and Dolores says she pours it out to God. He can take it and understands. Yeah, you read
exactly. That's the best sounding board of all.
You read the Psalms. They did it there too.
Exactly.
All right.
Great tip there. Thanks.
Venting tip.
So you have 2 choices. So we did the venting tip. Go to the next slide.
Okay.
So you have 2 choices when things are presented to you. You can give up or you can try again. We have to constantly work at this mindset thing. With practice, it will get easier, so you just got to keep trying. We're human beings, life happens, you're going to have negative thoughts. It all happens to us, but it's how we continue to respond that makes all the difference. And you need to recognize that some circumstances are not going to change in this life, but it's how we feel about them that can. And that will make all the difference. Next slide. So my closing quote for today is that the vibration of gratitude attracts more positive things into your life, more than you can imagine. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the law of vibration. So back to you, Kurt. That's all I got for today.
That's awesome, Kay. Thank you so much. Hey, give Kay some kudos there. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to keep writing there in the panel. We'll keep an eye on that. That is just sweet. At the end of one of my boot camps, Kay, I think it was Melee, that gave me a quote that I actually have at the end of my boot camp now. And I guess it resonates with me because my granddaughter, whom we came down to Florida to be with and help raise with my daughter, she's learning to walk right now. And she's probably falls, on her diaper cushioned buttocks, 20 times a day. And the quote goes something like this. He says, a child when it's learning to walk doesn't, after it falls 50 times, doesn't say, well, maybe this walking stuff isn't for me.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And so, hey, get up, keep going, move forward.
Yep.
And
kids don't know that they can't do it, that they're not supposed to get back up, so they do it.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. A lot of great stuff here. Yeah, Jana says, Dr. Cuffey, laughter, also some kinds of music. Yeah, Jana, we actually did a lesson where Kay talked about music being healing too. So, okay, great. Well, hey guys, thank you, Kay. Here's a commercial. Tomorrow night, Nancy invites you to join her on a webinar. We are racing to Minnesota, and if you haven't committed to be there physically yet, or you want to know more about it, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time, we are doing a webinar to explain everything about it for you. And the URL is here on this Race to Minnesota post. It's ebsliveevents.com/go. And we're going to talk all about, you're going to get all the details that you need to make that decision to come to Minnesota, which I really hope that you do. In fact, today's winner, Debbie of the Race to Minnesota Prize, actually will be on that webinar tomorrow. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience coming to her first trifecta too. And thank you for doing that for us, Debbie. So what are the dates? The dates are July 19th, 20th, and 21st, 3 one-day workshops back to back. Many of you probably already have a complimentary ticket ticket to one of them. You can upgrade to come to all three, and we'll explain all of that tomorrow evening. So we love our live events in Bloomington, as Kay has already mentioned, and we are heading back there in July, and that's what this Race to Minnesota is all about, to reward you on your quest and endeavor to get there. So Kay, any last thoughts if I jump over to the panel here and see if there are any more comments before we call it a wrap today? All right, Kathy says thank you. Carla says, love that example, Curtis. Rill says, this was a great way to start my day. Thanks, Kay and Garrett. You're welcome, Rill. Dolores says, thank you. You're an overcomer. A-OK. Beth says, thanks so much. Kay and Kurt, great info. Keep talking to your horses, Beth. That's awesome. And Debbie said, yay. Okay. All right. Debbie really wants that journal. So thank you, Kay.
Talk about
All right.
All right. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next week.
Awesome.
Curtis and Curtis Show will be back.
We will be back and hope you can join Ann tomorrow evening. Bye-bye, everybody.